Picture this. You're a marine biologist. You just pulled something out of the deep Arctic Ocean that looks like a submarine crossed with a potato. It's slow, it's massive, it's almost completely blind. Its flesh will make you act like you've had about 12 shots of something terrible. And somehow, impossibly, it may have been alive before Shakespeare wrote his first play. Welcome to the Greenland shark, the creature that has spent 5 centuries quietly breaking every rule biology thought it had figured out. This is not your typical shark story. No dramatic music, no great white leaping in slow motion, no gleaming teeth. The Greenland shark doesn't do dramatic. It doesn't do anything fast, actually. But that is precisely what makes it one of the most extraordinary animals that has ever existed. Every single thing about this creature is a puzzle. Every time scientists think they've cracked it, the shark hands them another piece that doesn't fit. So today we're going to lay out the clues, one by one, and follow them to the most jaw-dropping conclusion in the history of vertebrate biology. Let's start with the mystery itself. Why do we barely know this thing exists? The Greenland shark lives in incredibly cold, deep waters, far less studied than most of the 500 other shark species. Think about that. We have mapped more of the surface of Mars than we have explored the deep Arctic Ocean. And lurking down there in the dark and the cold is this enormous animal that science has been casually ignoring for centuries. The largest fish in the Arctic, and the only shark found there year-round, it also inhabits the North Atlantic and Russian High Arctic. Rarely observed at the surface, it can live in waters 7,200 feet deep, in temperatures between just below freezing and about 7 degrees Celsius, 7,200 feet, deeper than most submarines comfortably operate. And even when researchers do find one, dark grey, brown or black, cylinder-shaped, small-eyed, rounded snout, no anal fin, what they find is staggering. Greenland sharks can reach 23 feet long and may weigh 1.5 tons. That's longer than a great white, which typically grows to 15 to 20 feet. 1.5 tons of slow-moving Arctic predator, which brings us to the first clue that something deeply weird is going on. Its speed. As an ectotherm in a just above freezing environment, the Greenland shark has the lowest swim speed and tailbeat frequency for its size across all fish species. Normal cruising speed, about 30 centimeters, 1 foot per second. Just over 1 kilometer per hour. Top speed barely twice that. Just about anything they might want to eat swims faster than them. So we have a predator nearly as long as a school bus that cannot catch anything that doesn't want to be caught. If you designed a predator in a video game with those stats, you'd get laughed out of the room. Yet here's the Greenland shark, thriving in one of the harshest environments on Earth for potentially hundreds of years. Clearly it didn't get the memo about what predators are supposed to do, or maybe it knows something we don't. How does something this slow eat seals? It's been suggested they act as scavengers, or prey on seals while they sleep. A creature so slow and patient that its hunting strategy is essentially wait for your prey to fall asleep, then drift over like a shadow in the dark water. While every other predator burns energy in frantic chases, the Greenland shark has mastered the art of doing absolutely nothing and winning. Nature selected for patience over speed, and as we'll see, that choice paid off in the most spectacular way imaginable. But first we need to talk about something living in this shark's eyes. Because yes, it gets weirder. The parasite Omatocoita elongata is remarkably common in Greenland shark populations. Studies have found over 90% of sharks observed in the wild are infected, 9 in 10. This copepod, a small crustacean, attaches itself to the corneas, destroying the tissue and causing partial blindness, not near the eye, on it. Most animals would consider something eating my eye a significant problem. The Greenland shark appears entirely unbothered, and here's where evolution throws a curveball. The eye can no longer form images but can still detect changes in light. Infected sharks become sluggish scavengers, uninfected ones are active hunters. The parasite effectively demotes the shark from hunter to scavenger, and the shark just adapts its entire lifestyle around it. No drama, a quiet renegotiation of the terms of survival. Some researchers have even suggested the relationship might be mutualistic. The glowing parasite dangling from the shark's eye in total darkness could act as a lure, drawing curious prey toward the shark's mouth. There is anecdotal evidence of bioluminescence from the parasite. The shark that can't see might be using its eye parasite as a fishing lure. What looks like a disability could be an evolutionary tool. Nature is absolutely wild. Now let's talk about why you should never eat this shark fresh. The flesh of the Greenland shark is toxic when fresh, posing a threat to both humans and dogs. This toxicity is primarily due to high concentrations of trimethylamine oxide, TMAO, in its tissues. TMAO itself isn't unusual, lots of marine animals have it, but the Greenland shark has it in concentrations that are off the charts, and here's why. The poison isn't a venom in the classic sense, it's a byproduct of the shark's adaptation to its environment. TMAO acts as an osmolyte, protecting proteins and enzymes from the damaging effects of cold temperatures and high pressure. It's biological antifreeze. Without it, the shark's proteins would denature and it would perish in the icy depths. When eaten fresh, the meat causes symptoms similar to severe drunkenness, nausea, vomiting, neurological effects sometimes described as being shark drunk. Dogs have experienced the same. It is by any reasonable definition a neurotoxin, except it was never designed to be one. It's an accidental side effect of being perfectly engineered for the deep Arctic cold. But humans figured out how to eat it anyway. Hakal, Iceland's national dish, consists of Greenland shark fermented and hung to dry for 4 to 5 months. Traditionally buried in the ground for 6 to 12 weeks, then air-dried for several more months, the process drives out the TMAO as it evaporates from the flesh. The result smells powerfully of ammonia and tastes like the inside of a very old shoe marinated in regret. But it is technically safe. Icelanders have been doing it since the Viking Age. At some point centuries ago, someone looked at an animal with toxic flesh, said, "I'll fix it," buried it in the ground for 3 months and called it dinner. That's either the most desperate or the most creative culinary decision in human history. Honestly, it might be both. Now. Every trait we've covered has a thread connecting it to one central theme, a theme we haven't named yet. But we're about to. Let's talk about the slow-motion life. Greenland sharks are among the slowest growing vertebrates, adding just 1 centimetre per year. They reach sexual maturity around 150 years old and can live over 400 years, 1 centimetre per year. Human hair grows roughly 15 centimetres per year. This shark grows slower than your hair, and it doesn't reproduce until it is 1.5 centuries old. When a fishing net accidentally captures a 200-year-old breeding female, it's not just losing one individual, it's potentially losing decades of future offspring. The slow-motion life is also why scientists struggle to determine how old these animals actually are. With bony fish, you count growth rings on the otolith, like rings on a tree. Many sharks can be aged by counting bands on their vertebrae. But the Greenland shark's soft vertebrae have no such bands, no rings, no ear bones to count. For a long time, scientists simply had no way to verify how long these animals lived. Then, in 2016, a team led by marine biologist Julius Nielsen found a solution so clever it deserves its own round of applause. The eye lens of every vertebrate is made of crystalline proteins that do not change over time. At the centre of the lens is material present since the shark was born. Nielsen analysed this material using radiocarbon dating, specifically the bomb pulse technique. In the late 1950s, thermonuclear testing released elevated levels of carbon-14 into the atmosphere, leaving a signature in the tissues of every living thing alive at the time. If a shark's eye lens nucleus contains traces of that radiocarbon spike, it was born after the nuclear tests. If it contains none, it was born before them, potentially long before. The nuclear tests of the Cold War accidentally became a timestamp embedded in the biology of every creature on Earth, and scientists used it to crack one of the deepest mysteries in marine biology. Nielsen's team examined 28 Greenland sharks and found the species had a lifespan of at least 272 years. The oldest specimen examined was approximately 400 years old. 400 years old, let's put that in context. If this shark was born around 1627, it was alive during the reign of Louis XIII, the founding of Harvard, the entire age of sail. It predates the steam engine, the American Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, the light bulb, the telephone, the airplane, the internet. While all of human modernity was being constructed above the surface of the ocean, this shark was down in the dark, cruising at less than 2 kilometers per hour, completely indifferent to all of it. But wait, it gets more extraordinary. because 400 years was just the central estimate. Nielsen told scientists there was room for error, and hypothetically a living specimen could be as old as 512 years. Scientific data suggests they may live for more than 500 years. 500 years. There could be a Greenland shark swimming in the Arctic right now that was born before Galileo pointed a telescope at the sky, before Newton described gravity, before every scientific revolution that gave us the tools to even understand what a Greenland shark is. This animal predates the scientific method. It predates modern medicine, and it is, in all likelihood, still out there, somewhere in the cold and the dark, drifting, patient, alive. Now here's where genome research reframes everything we just learned, because scientists didn't just want to know how long these sharks live, they wanted to know why. In 2024, a team published findings after mapping the Greenland shark's genome. They discovered multiple copies of genes that support the immune system, regulate inflammation, and repair DNA, preventing cancer and promoting healthy aging. Unique amino acid substitutions may enhance chromatin stability and reduce age-related genetic damage. Expanded gene copies improve iron storage and resistance to oxidative stress, cancer resistance, enhanced DNA repair, chromatin stability. These are not just interesting facts about a deep-sea fish, these are potential roadmaps for human medicine. Studying the way Greenland shark's DNA works may unlock new methods to treat cancer and other diseases in humans. Now let's step back and see the full picture. Because here's what's so elegant about the Greenland shark story when you see it whole. Every single weird trait is connected. The extreme cold forces a slow metabolism. The slow metabolism means less cellular damage over time. Less cellular damage means slower aging. Slower aging means a longer life, supported by enhanced DNA repair genes that evolved alongside the cold water lifestyle. The TMAO that makes the flesh toxic is the same compound that protects proteins in freezing high-pressure water. The near blindness barely matters in an environment with no light, where the survival strategy is patience rather than pursuit. Every apparent weakness is an adaptation. Every strange quirk is a solution to a problem. The whole animal is a single, coherent, extraordinarily elegant answer to the question, how do you survive in one of the most hostile environments on Earth? The answer is very, very slowly, and now, the moment this whole story has been building toward. Let's truly sit with the longevity number. Greenland sharks reach sexual maturity around 150 years old. A shark alive today may not have had its first offspring until the 1700s. It was not yet reproductively mature when Mozart was composing. It was an adolescent during the French Revolution. It became an adult during the Napoleonic Wars. It was middle-aged during the American Civil War. It was old by the standards of every other animal on Earth when the Wright brothers flew at Kitty Hawk. And it is still alive today, in 2026, drifting through cold, dark water, growing 1 centimetre per year, utterly unaware that an entire civilization rose and fell and rose again above it. Often dubbed the zombies of the sea, due to their sluggish movements, these ancient sharks are anything but lifeless. That nickname is wrong in the most important way. They are the opposite of zombies. They are the most alive thing on the planet, by the only measure that ultimately counts, duration. And here's the final twist. We don't know how many of them there are. We don't know where they all go. We don't know the upper limit of their lifespan. The shark that breaks every rule is still largely unread. We've decoded pieces of its genome, we've carbon dated its eye lens, we've watched it drift through dark water on remote cameras. But the full story is still being written, in the cold, in the slow, in the deep. The Greenland shark was listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. Once heavily hunted for liver oil, its population decreased dramatically through the 1970s. A species that needs a century and a half just to start reproducing cannot absorb losses the way faster-lived animals can. Every individual lost is a potential dynasty erased. Climate change adds another threat to an animal that has survived everything else. So here's what I want you to take away. The Greenland shark is not just a biological curiosity. It is a reminder that the most extraordinary things on this planet are often the ones we know the least about. That slowness is not weakness. That darkness is not emptiness. That the strangest looking creature, with the weirdest flesh and the most inconvenient parasites, can turn out to be the most remarkable thing alive. Somewhere in the Arctic Ocean right now, a shark born before your country existed is gliding through water so cold it would kill you in minutes. It is going nowhere fast. It is in no hurry. It has absolutely nothing to prove. And in that patient, unhurried, 500-year-old silence, it is quietly making every other living thing on Earth look like it's rushing. If this video rewired something in your brain the way it did in mine, hit subscribe, because we go deep on stories exactly like this one, all the time. Drop a comment telling me what blew your mind the most. Was it the parasite, the toxic flesh, the genome? Or was it that number, 500 years, that you're still not fully over? Because honestly, neither am I. See you in the deep end.